Do you need to agree with a creator in order to enjoy a comic? If the creator's putting in kind of their own personal ideology, their politics, their religion, their ideas, do you have to agree with those ideas in order to enjoy the comic, or can you just enjoy it for what it's worth? That can be tricky. Hey, there's this Perch. I've been thinking about, as one of the big complaints of kind of the modern comic era, at least as you hear on social media, is that the creators are infusing their own personal beliefs into comics and thus creating either an unprofessional product or a product that, people can't enjoy because it doesn't align with their beliefs. And and there's other reasons. I'm not saying that's the sole reason. So there's always, somebody will come in and be like, "That's not what we're angry about." Yes, I understand there are other things, but I'm just talking about that one for now. It's an interesting question because it's something that has gone on in all kinds of media, movies and books and shows and all kinds of things. Of do you have to subscribe to the ideology or to the beliefs or to the mission, the concepts, the philosophies of the show writer or the show plot in order to enjoy it? And typically, this has come up with people who are religious, who would just like to watch a movie of maybe, back in the day, Sylvester Stallone and Schwarzenegger used to do these violent action movies. And I remember there were stories way back in my old time memory, in the early '80s of, I think the early '80s, I don't know, the '80s, let's just say, of can a religious person enjoy a super violent Arnold Schwarzenegger movie? Or can a deep-seated Christian go for a movie like Total Recall, where it has it questions kind of the concept of faith and in this kind of science fictiony way? A lot of science fiction films would buck up against very fundamental religious faith because parts of the origin of the universe get kind of turned on its ear if you're comparing it to a very strict interpretation of the Bible versus Star Wars and there are multiple planets and different species and all the rest. It comes into conflict. I knew some religious people who would not watch Star Wars. And Star Wars was very much an anti-religious movie, and they were very much against it. And they were, because it basically said that mankind isn't necessarily the center of the universe. There are other aliens, and then the Force was conflicted with the religious teachings of Christianity. And then at some point, I think George Lucas either said he had respect for religion, or I don't know. At some point, it flipped. Like the churches are suddenly like, "Hey, wait a minute, Star Wars is good for us. Let's go for it." The Force is an analogy for Christianity, and then suddenly Star Wars was good. But for a while, it was evil. And I remember being friends with someone, and the parents wouldn't watch it, and they wouldn't let her watch it, and so it was a bummer. And it always, I got to thinking, at what point do you have to kind of subscribe to the pamphlet, if you will? What point do you have to agree with the creator in order to enjoy something? Because for me, I could turn on Star Wars, and whether or not I had any religious beliefs or believed in aliens or any of that, I can just watch the pretty lights moving around the screen and ships blowing up. And I think, to me, a lot of entertainment is meant to be kind of mindless escapism. So do I have to, not, in addition to escaping, I have to also kind of go all in with being on board with the with the plot in the movie and the beliefs of the director. So comics gets into the same boat because increasingly a lot of creators feel emboldened to talk about their both religious and political and philosophical beliefs. I think the election of Donald Trump certainly kind of flipped the switch. And in fairness, that's actually not fair to Trump or Trump's people. This was happening before. This was definitely an Obama era thing where I think a lot of creators, for whatever reason, perhaps proud that we finally got an African American president, felt like I'm going to step out of the shadows and I'm going to declare my support. And this is awesome. And I think around that time, the general discord between Republicans and Democrats and all the rest of that stuff really cranked up. And regardless of who you believe started it, both sides, I think, determined through fundraising and the media that it was very profitable to have to have that fight going on. That's the joke of politics, of course, in general, is that it's like if everyone went back to kind of getting along and tried to get things done, the fundraising would plummet, and the news clickbait, all the headline stuff, would they have to work again and and go back to journalism. It'd be a disaster. So that's not happening anytime soon. But if you're reading a comic book, we'll put it this way: I like Superior Foes of Spider-Man. That was a book that Nick Spencer did with Stephen. No, I'm not sure who he did that with. Anyway, I should remember. It'll come to me by the end of this. I think it was Stephen Lieber. Anyway, he did this book where some of the B-list Spider-Man foes kind of got together to do a heist, and they were, it was a fun book. It was kind of quirky, and it was fun, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed Next Wave by Warren Ellis quite a lot. I thought that was the right book at the right time, and I enjoyed the comedy, and I enjoyed what they did with those characters, and I enjoyed the dynamic. I enjoyed seeing Monica Rambeau again, even if she was put in a very frustrating role in that book. I liked it, but I would talk to people who would say, well, Warren Ellis is a super socialist, and Nick Spencer is a super anti-Trump, calls people Nazis, and so I don't know. I am able to separate the beliefs of the creators from the book I'm writing. I don't let it impact me, and maybe it's just as you get older, you consume so much media that if you start trying to align your beliefs with the people who are writing or producing or drawing or acting or whatever, your stuff you can consume gets so small. You're just miserable. Like, I want to watch TV. I want to play games. I want to read comics. I don't want to have to think too much about who did what and what they might have said in an interview somewhere. I just don't. Now, there's limits, of course. But I think there's a big difference between, and this is maybe the crux of what I'm about to say. There's a major difference between somebody who feels a certain way versus somebody who goes out of their way to attack a fan. So, for example, if let's say you're Brian Edward Hill. I'll pick on him. And let's say Brian Edward Hill says, I love socialism. It's awesome. Everybody gets pie, and it's all great. And Bernie Sanders is the absolute best president. I'm going for him. The only problem with him is he's not socialist enough. All right, let's say he says that. I don't care. That's his vote, his opinion, I don't believe that pie is going to be split up equally. I want a big piece of pie. I like pie. Somebody co-opted pie. I was saying that the other day, and somebody's like, what is Ethan Van Sciver? I don't know, somebody. It is Art Dilbert. I'm sorry. I'm out of the drama stuff. But anyway, somebody has got the chokehold on pie. Like, literally pie you eat. And now when you say pie, they think it's like a code word to this person. It's weird. Our world is weird right now, folks. Anyway, so I think that's one thing. I don't care, though. If Brian Edward Hill said that, I'm still going to pick up Killmonger. I'm still going to pick up Fallen Angels. I'm still going to like those comics, and life's great. If Brian Edward Hill said all those things and then said, and everybody who disagrees with me is a terrible, rotten Hitler person, and he started just randomly going online and like seeking out people and saying, you are not for Bernie Sanders, therefore you are an awful, terrible human being. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And start sending angry gifts at them and just really kind of goes at the fans. Then that's a different thing. And I think, to me, that's where the two camps sit. Is the person just kind of saying these ideas, or is the person actually going out and antagonizing others who disagree with them and trying to start a fight? The second one I have zero tolerance for. And that's where I think that's destructive behavior, chases people away from comics. It hurts. It's just bad, being a bad human. Nothing is good about that. The first is you've got your own opinion, and that's cool. That's what living in a free country allows you to do, and that's no problems. I'm never going to boycott, stop reading a comic, anything else because the person disagrees with me, or I disagree with them. I'm never going to do that. I would not give my money to somebody who's going out of their way to attack me directly. Unfortunately, there's a little bit of a gray area between the two, and it comes about like this. If you go on Twitter and you go on to Brian Edward Hill's feed and he writes, I love Bernie Sanders, and then you respond to Brian Edward Hill and you say, Bernie Sanders is Stalin and the devil, and you're a dumbass for liking him. And then Brian Edward Hill responds, no, you're the dumbass. Then that's not Brian Edward Hill attacking a fan. By the way, I love using Brian Edward Hill for all these examples because he's like the nicest guy and he listens fairly to pretty much all viewpoints. So, I, I mean, it's kind of funny to use him as this example. Maybe it helps to use him as an example. People think about it. But I think that there's a major difference between you go and you seek out someone and you start engaging with them, and then an argument, ensues. That's not a creator attacking you or attacking the fans or anything else. And I do think there are fans who screw this up in the sense that they go out looking to start a fight. They try and start a fight. They get one. And then they go, well, the creators are unprofessional and you should never talk to fans that way. It's like, well, if you go looking for a fight, that's on you, buddy. And I'd love to hear kind of the counterpoint to this, but I feel pretty strong about that one. I think if you go out looking for a fight and a fight finds you, that's on you. That's your problem. Should the creator have a soul of steel, like in real life, Brian Edward Hill, who I've seen people. There was this guy who was God, he's the biggest jackass. I'm sorry. And I tried with this guy for like a year. Still didn't block. I finally muted because he would just run into threads and be like, you are a communist. It's like, all right, enough. But he would just go at Brian Edward Hill and he would just like go at him and at him and at him just aggressively. And Brian Edward Hill would be like, finally he's like, dude, I tried to engage you in good faith, but I'm going to go ahead and mute this thread. I'm like, holy cow. How are you so chill? Like however you were raised, Mr. Hill, it was raised. I got to meet your mom. She did a good job. Or your dad, good job. Mama Hill did something right because he would not take the bait, and it was amazing to see. But I think, look, if a creator is out there just randomly like screaming at people, and some do, that's one thing. I think if the creator is there acting arrogant and being a jerk, and somebody comes in and it's like, hey, that's not cool, and the creator tears their head off, that's not cool either. That's wrong. It falls into that second bucket. But if the creator's just kind of there and makes a statement like, I don't like Trump. He's allowed not to. He, she, whoever it is, they're allowed not to like Trump. If they say, I don't like Trump, and everybody who likes Trump is a horrible, evil Nazi, and I hope they burn in hell. Okay, now you've crossed that line into problem territory. But if you're just saying your opinion, and the fan comes in and goes, well, I don't like you. You're a jerk. You're a socialist jerk. And then the creator blocks them. I mean, what do you expect? If you go picking a fight, you're gonna get blocked. You're gonna get fought with. Don't go pick fights, and life will be okay. That's just my opinion. I think you can enjoy works. I think you can enjoy comics. I think you can enjoy movies and music and all kinds of things without having to know what the other person's into and to have a completely different view. I know for a fact there are musicians, there are movie producers or actors. I know that there are people who are into all kinds of crazy nonsense that I am not into. And I will happily watch their movies and enjoy it and, give my life away to the TV. I know for a fact I will do this, and I'm comfortable with that fact. So I think you can do it too. But I don't know. What do you think? Where do you fall in this line? Does this resonate with you? Have you struggled with watching something once you learned what the creator or the actor or whoever it is, what they believe in? Did it change things for you? I mean, there's limits. I mean, if I'm watching a movie and I'm like, wow, I really love, I love Sigourney Weaver. I think she's an amazing actress. I generally loved everything she's done, and I think she's amazing. I think she deserved to win Actress of the Decade, not Kristen Stewart, but that is another issue. I love Sigourney Weaver. Now, let's say Sigourney Weaver comes out and gives an interview and says, I am totally into ritualistic sacrifice to bring back the demigod Pan and Kotaku. Actually, just even saying this out loud, that would only make her cooler. I, I gotta admit, if she said that, I'd be like, man, you are so cool. All right. Anyway, what do you think? Does this make sense to you? Can you read and enjoy things with people you dislike, or is it impossible? Where do you fall in those lines? Do you understand what I'm saying with the, like, if you go picking a fight, it's kind of on you now. I get it. They're professionals and they should try and hold a professional, but that doesn't mean you should play the game of let's see if we can get the professional to blink. It's like the guards, in London that have to stand there and then people go up and like spit in their face and they can't move. It's like, the comic creators are not the Buckingham Palace guards. Okay. They should all have to wear those hats though. That's okay. This thing's gone off the rails. Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications. I haven't said that in a while. Follow me on Twitter @ComicPerch, and thanks for listening.